Yo, we back again with another episode of Hidden Hands Podcast.
Yes,
here with my man Cruz.
What's good?
As usual. Today we got a special guest with us. We got Mateo Dorado with us.
The young
A
legend.
good friend of mine,
Yes.
a young legend. And getting him on the podcast was very important, even though we had a long day today. Getting him on the podcast was very important because to me, I've always personally felt like Mateo was you have these certain kind of people that you meet and then you kind of know that they're headed in the right direction or they're headed in a certain trajectory that's going to be a big executive. Mm-hmm. And from the moment I met Mateo and seeing where he was at and seeing what he was doing and seeing how he was navigating it, I pretty much knew that he's going to be a next big thing. You know what I mean? As an executive one day, you know what I mean? And he's been climbing the ranks. I mean, he's killing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was very important to get Mateo Dorado on here.
Mateo, what's up, man? Appreciate you, bro. Straight off the flight.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the kind words, the great intro. I really appreciate that. Honestly, Trav, you have no idea what that means to me. And it is really nice to meet you too and be here speaking to you all. I'm really excited. And I'm happy to see you doing this.
Yeah, for sure, man. Could you, just for the people that are getting to know you,
Absolutely.
Could you kind of run through some of your highlights as you're in your career as an A&R, like people you brought to the table that you've signed that we may know or not know?
Yeah, absolutely. I started working in South Florida when I was like 17, 18 years old, in the show circuit, like underground promoting shows and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It was a massive cultural moment because that was the moment when like XXX and Ski Mask and Little Pump and Smoke Perp and all these artists were the talk of, the internet and everything that it was. And it was like a really pivotal cultural moment because this was the first time like artists were really like breaking through in this massive way just on like SoundCloud and social media. You know what I mean? So that's really how I started. I caught an early act by the name of Young Bands who was in Atlanta, underaged, on house arrest, dealing with a lot of different things. But he taught me the power of networking on the internet. Like he had no other choice. He couldn't leave the house and go do shows and stuff like that. But he had a niche and he had a small community that he fed his music to. And that community turned into what became this huge XXX, Ski Mask, SoundCloud Wave, Atlanta, SoundCloud Wave, things like that. And, through him, I learned the power of exchanging, like he would have a dope hook with like a really dope producer on it and he'd go give it to X artist in exchange for like, he would have 2 songs with like a bigger feature on it and just all different things and meeting people on the internet and realizing like, wow, you can really just do this from home. Like that was like the first person I came across. And then I came to New York when I was about 19 years old to work for Todd Moskowitz at Alamo Records. He had Wi-Fi's Funeral and Smoke Perp signed, which were both acts from South Florida that I grew up with again, who came from that craze, that SoundCloud
era.
Yeah, the SoundCloud era. And then over there I became the youngest consultant at that company at that point. I started managing and A&Ring an artist by the name of Comethazine, who was almost like the tail end of this, but was probably one of the dopest things that came from it. And then, over time I learned about digital marketing, about touring, about tour managing, about A&R, about admin, about all this stuff. And I had the opportunity of, finding the luck, honestly, of finding Rod Wave on my Instagram Explore page, doing a video with Einer Banks. And I just loved his tone. I connected with him musically. And I thought that he was something really, really beyond special. Pitching somebody who had maybe like 8,000 to 12,000 followers at that point to a company to do a deal with somebody like that, whose numbers were escalating, but not at the height of maybe some other people, was the first kind of like lesson that I had of like learning the building and being able to, push something that you really believed in to like everybody and convincing them that it would be, smart to go into business with him and his team. And that became probably the most successful thing I've touched to date. After that process, I spent some time at Interscope Latin helping them get their company off the ground, and they had artists signed and were signing new stuff and stuff. And then after that, through the success of Rod Wave and the fact that he was still in the Interscope system, I was able to do a small kind of venture thing with Todd Moskowitz and Interscope in Alamo, and I had a kind of a small sort of imprint label deal with them. I signed an artist by the name of Infamous in collaboration with Florida artist Hot Boy. We signed them together, and now I am the senior director of A&R at Atlantic Records, and I look after No Cap and Lil Tyler.
Man, amazing. Definitely give it up.
Yeah, we
That
gotta
story
give props to
is very condensed, but it's a lot of motion, a lot of amazing things that you made happen for the culture and that you kind of spearheaded and changed a lot of lives in the process. You know what I'm saying? Including my man.
Yeah, when I was it's funny because you posted something the other day that kind of fucked me up when I read it.
What was it? I always think about these things. Like,
you posted you were happy to contribute your small contribution to the next 50 years of hip hop.
yeah,
As you were thanking it for the past 50 years. It made me think like, man, we are a part of the next 50 years of hip hop. We are the ones that are, you know what I mean, shaping that and adding to it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
All together, it's of course hip hop is bigger, so it's more like you said, your small part. But to me, your part is big. But you know what I mean? You just ran through.
I tried to do it as fast as
saying.
possible.
I
tried to do it as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So I want to start at the beginning.
Yes.
How did you get into the music industry? Like
Yeah.
that step.
I think I was just like obsessed with the internet. Like I think I was obsessed with like pop culture, and I was obsessed with like everything that came with that, right? And so I think I was just trying to figure out a way to access something that was cool, just something that was different. I'm from a suburb, like I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida, which is like an hour north of Miami, and there's really not a lot going on. Like maybe now there's more things going on there, but there really wasn't a lot going on. And I think I just wanted to be a part of like something that seemed like left the field from where I was, and also just culture shifting in general. And I think there probably wasn't like a ton of like crazy like fashion community or like crazy like creator community and stuff like that, but there was definitely like music, and there was a lot of this. When I got my driver's license was like the peak of like all these underground shows and all this stuff going on. So I just became hyper obsessed with it all, and I would go to every single one, whether they'd be like in a studio the size of this room or like at a big outdoor space or at a skate park or in a store or whatever it was. And then I began to figure out ways to make myself useful in these places, whether it be like, you know, hitting up these companies and being like, do you want me to go pick up the person you booked at the airport or something? Or I learned how to take photo and video and do edits for them for their socials so that I could just go every single time and just be a part of something every single time. It was this really small niche that turned to be this really huge, massive thing that like even, you know, rest in peace X and stuff, like post his death, like people still stream him, obsess over him, you know, in like a way that you could never scale at that point. But I think that very small moment helped me realize that like every aspect of your subgenre in which you live in can be that, and that's how you create a real true fan base and following, you know.
Was your mind headed towards, hey, I want to be in the music industry, or were you just a part of the culture at that time?
That's really interesting. I thought of myself more as like a creative. Like maybe I thought that like graphic design and photography and videography would have worked out for me. But to be super honest with you, like I wasn't amazing at it, and I wasn't sitting here like trying to learn like a bunch of new things about it every single day and stuff like that. But what I was passionate about was like being at every pivotal moment, you know what I mean? Like I needed to be somewhere because you never know who might show up or who might be there or what might happen, or you know, like X or Y rapper might fight their fan and it might go viral on Twitter and you were there when that happened, you know what I mean? And like you just never know, but I needed to be at every single moment. I didn't think about the music business until much later.
So you were pretty much a part of the culture. You were pretty much into the music?
Yeah, I was just a fan, and
You
I
were
was
a
just
young
contributing
kid
to
who-
just be around. Yeah.
Got you. Okay, but you weren't like, hey, I'm gonna be the senior A&R at Atlantic in the next few years.
No.
Okay.
I had no idea what that even was.
What was that moment where you were like, oh, this is what it is? Like, I'm gonna find new talent and put them on a platform that helps with, their whole movement. Like, what was that transition for you?
I don't know. It all happened like in a really, really organic way. Like I never really thought about it too much. Like even after I started working, like I didn't really like think too much about like research or what a platform even was and stuff like that. It all kind of was just like it was just kind of happening as I went, and like I didn't go to school and stuff like that. So like this was my school, you know what I mean?
Did
So
you have any post high school education?
yeah, so
I'm just wondering.
no,
you know what
I
mean?
feel
It's
you. I
like-
feel you. Post high school education sounds hilarious though.
Yeah, any education after high school?
Yes, I was going to go to college on a music scholarship. Pretty much, I played the bass my whole life. Like I played the orchestral philharmonic bass my whole life. It's like the big cello that you play standing up. And I wasn't amazing at it. I wasn't obsessed with it, but it was what kept me in good schools and art schools, and I knew how to do it. And to me, like it was just important that I stayed doing something creative constantly. I wanted to go to school for fashion. I didn't get into any fashion schools. I wanted to move to New York or move to LA, and I didn't get into any of these schools. So I was playing bass. I was gonna play bass at FIU, and I went for like 2-3 days, and I just didn't really like what was going on over there. Like I just didn't really feel identified with like what they had going on over there, which is totally cool. Like
Yeah.
and
we're thankful for that.
yeah, and then
It came as
I went to my state school for like another semester or so, like about a year. My state school was like 10-15 minutes away from where I lived, so it actually was super helpful because after senior year of high school, I was still able to do like a whole year of this like shows and promotion stuff and like continue to build that stuff in my town, you know what I mean? And like meet more people and stuff like that. So it worked out in the best way possible. Yeah.
Got you. Do you feel like you playing the bass and having that knowledge helps you with, because now you deal with like people you named were a lot of hip hop artists, a lot of rap artists. Do you feel like that helps you as an A&R?
Well, I think that I don't consider myself like a producer by any means or anything like that, but I think that I have a well-trained ear, and I think that I can tell you like if something just doesn't sound right, honestly.
Yeah.
You know?
That's an intuition that people are just kind of
A tempo
just kinda born
thing
with.
and an off-tempo thing too,
Yeah.
you learn, you know what I mean? And like it could be, on beat like 3/4 or 4/4, but something could also be syncopated, and somebody could be rapping like that, and but you could understand that because a very small amount of music theory, and you realize like you're like, wait, it's not on beat, but it sounds good to me. Why the fuck is that? And you're like, oh well, that's why. You realize that like everything is it all goes back to that.
Yeah,
Right.
Sometimes I feel like music theory. It's funny you say that because sometimes I feel like music theory sometimes hurts people. Sometimes because you got the Detroit rappers right nowadays. They're ahead of the beat, behind the beat, around the beat, under the beat. You know what I'm saying? So if you're hearing that first, and it's your decision to see if that's gonna be the one, you know what I mean? Because you kind of have a hard job. You know what I mean? In reality, like A&Ring or being the person who hears it first. You know what I mean? You could kind of shoot yourself in the foot going off of the technicalities and stuff like that. So
If you have a relationship with somebody where you have the power to tell them like, yo, you're not gonna put this out, or yo, you should put this out, and you're wrong, you might mess that relationship up with somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always try to just give the artist the most heaviest part of their opinion. Like hear them out and understand why they feel like this is what it should be.
Yeah.
I try to meet everybody in the middle, especially if it's about like putting out a project. Like if I like 2 or 3 songs and you don't like any of those, I'm gonna let you pick 7 of them and tell you, give me 1 or 2 of these, please. You know what I mean? And hopefully those work. You know?
No, that's a good formula. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, this is that artist's art, and they have to stand on it, right? And they have to promote it. It's their face, and of
Exactly.
course,
Yes, exactly. You can't force somebody to to promote something
Yeah.
that they don't feel 100% proud of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm always like, you know, making sure every single time, like, yo, do you like this? Is this something you're gonna be pushing on your own? Like, I don't want to even have to text you that your song
Right.
is out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep, exactly.
you should be more excited about that than anybody.
Yeah.
Because the fans can tell, kind of, when it translates to
When
the
it's
fans.
one and done, and when it's a transactional thing, for sure.
Yeah, the energy, everything. So, I mean, I deal with that. You know, I think we've all dealt with it, whereas though we have like this feeling of like, man, I'm telling you, these particular records, like, and they swing a different way, but you have to have this faith in the artist that you're dealing with and understand that, you know, they know what they're doing to a certain degree in terms of them dealing with their art. You know what I mean? Like, we could kind of help them in the process and make sure it's the best particular product, you know, from the production to how it sounds when it hits the DSPs and things like that. But at the end of the day, like I say, man,
It's
you
up to
know,
the artist.
it's their art.
Do you look at yourself as an A&R?
It's tough, and I've been really struggling with that like label recently, I think, because you know, I also did like a lot of management stuff and like I said, promotional stuff, and now I work like in the brand space and the content space and stuff like that. And it can be difficult. For example, like if you're like around a signed act and you think they're the shit and you think you could aid them in some way, shape, or form, but they just view you as like this person who didn't give them the money that they wanted, you know what I mean? Or like who couldn't land a deal with his or her team. But you're like, yo, there's so many other resources that I could present you with, or even something that I could help you put together that has nothing to do with me, my company, or what I represent, but I just want you to make great music and do something really dope. That like, it's tough, man. I just feel like I'm me, and I'm trying to be the best version of me for everybody, and I see opportunity and a way to amplify everybody's anything. You know what I mean? You as like an engineer or a post producer, I've seen ways to be like, yo, Trav, like figure out a way to do this or connect with these people, you know, because or build your fucking brand, because you never know. You know what I mean? Like just in general. And that goes beyond like sitting in an office or sending emails out or doing research or doing a deal or helping somebody choose the track list on their album. Like I believe in just having like a real genuine relationship with the people that I work with. You know what I mean? I know people who cannot get a hold of artists that are signed to them, you know, like can't get them on the phone.
Right.
Wow.
We could do this live right now. I could probably get like 9 out of 10 of everybody that you know what I mean? Like for sure.
I believe you.
You're in touch.
Yeah.
But see, that's what made me ask the question, is because from the beginning of your story, starting with the SoundCloud era, which was such an organic moment in hip hop and in the music game, really. And then you go from where you're on the scene, you're in Florida, you're moving around, you're every day there's a certain fanship that's there for you to where you're in touch. But then as you elevate, for me, in the music industry, I see as people elevate, it seems like they get closed off. You know what I mean? It seems like, hey, now you're in New York, you're in these offices, you're in, you know what I mean, South America in these offices.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
So how do you stay in touch?
I have to find like every single version of that person who was me, who was like obsessed with the internet and obsessed with culture. And like, you know, fortunately because of social media, and now more than ever because I've been growing like a lot on social media, like kids reach out to me and I try to give everybody at least 15 minutes of my time, you know, at least once. And if I feel like we connect, and if I feel like there's something that I could do with them, or if something I could learn from X or Y person, it's never like work. It's just like lifestyle. You know what I mean? And that's what the biggest thing is. I had a bit of an intern that, like, when I moved back to New York, somebody who reached out to me, and him and I became really close. And I said, yo, you're going to be my intern, and then in a little bit, we'll figure out how to get you to work and get paid. And I had my office, and I had like work to do and stuff, but he would just kind of like come to my house or meet me at the office when it was time to leave. And like, I had no furniture in the house, so he was like helping me get it furnished and like set shit up. And like, but at the same time, like when I would be done there, he'd go to dinner with me, and he'd go to dinner with me and like people who work at like Hypebeast magazine, or like other A&Rs at other labels, or producers or engineers, or, you know, smaller artists coming up, or bigger artists who maybe, you know, like aren't in the same position, but like I know from the past, or people I've collaborated with. Or he was just a part of my day-to-day life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I could have had him doing my expenses and like not talking to him and like just getting, the shit that I needed out of him. But instead I was helping him build a phone book. I was helping him build a network. I was helping him understand what I did and why I was successful at that. And he on his own was able to decide like, I like the way you work and I would want to work like that, or I don't like the way you work and maybe I could learn how to work like somebody else that's more confined to like the computer or research or numbers or whatever. He actually ended up getting a job. Now he's an A&R at a major label. You know what I mean? I was able to refer him, and I was able to refer him because I trust him. I know he's not going to make me look crazy. And whatever is around there that's competitive or whatever, even if he gets to it before me or, he's able to, beat me to a deal or something like that, I know that I'm going to be near that. I'm going to be a piece of that part of culture because this is somebody that came up under me. You know what I mean? And like the goal is to, explain to him like, yo, I did this for you. Now you got to go pass this down to somebody else, So we all live under this one big web, that would be like my version of a Rock Nation offices. You know what I mean? Like generations of people who are just helping push things through, and you're like creating your own pyramid. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
It's a part of creating my brand too. Like when it's time, I'm gonna have my own shit, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna have my own brand and I'm gonna sell my own lifestyle, but I need 10 fucking dope young A&Rs in every building being like, oh, Mateo shit, that's about to be competitive. Like, because I remember working with him and he knew what was going on, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just how you stay looped in and tapped in, and you can't be above anything. Like, I've spent a grand majority of my summer in like Ibiza on fucking yachts and going out and doing whatever the fuck. But like I also spend a lot of my day-to-day time just hanging out in the Lower East Side and meeting young kids in Soho, or like, kids who are like about to go to college for fashion design, or like, DJs or whatever. You can't be above anything, bro. I still go GA to a concert and sit in line, or like go into a club, like whatever, go somewhere. Maybe I don't stay forever because I'm not set up the way I want to be set up, but I'll go somewhere, get a drink, go meet somebody. Like, you can't be beyond it, especially like having been able to start this young. I think I have this big upper hand. Like,
oh my God,
usually
Crazy.
people graduate when they're 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
I graduated into my next version of my next, salary and contract and whatever at 22, 23 years old. So it's like, I don't even look still crazy, like going outside and doing all these things. It's like, nobody can even sit here and be like, you're old. Like I'm actually I still have, time in front of me,
Yeah.
And that was always something I took into account when I said, damn, this dude's going to be a big ass executive, was how early you were moving the way you were moving, but how professional you were moving. You weren't moving like the kids your age, you know what I mean, that were in certain positions. You were moving, you know what I mean, as if you were already, you know what I mean, an older cat in the game doing it for a long time. And I didn't know that I didn't know that much about your history with the X era and stuff. I knew that I knew the Rod situation and I knew the Comethazine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of where the story started. So that's pretty crazy, bro.
What's like your highlight? What's the moment that you're just like, man, I can't believe I pulled that off?
There's so many.
I know.
I think there's just so many like against the clock things that like you just don't. I don't know. I honestly like.
What are you most proud of? Not to get you in trouble.
Nah.
With other people. You're not the most proud of me?
Yeah. I feel like that's what throw people off. You ask these questions.
Yeah.
I think everybody has like a really special moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if we go, person for person, it's just like really, I think it's just difficult to say. Like, I'm proud of everybody that I've worked with, and even small milestones to big milestones. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, honestly, I'm proud of the fact that through like all the like adversity that everybody faces on the day to day, I'm still able, and we're all still able to like wake up and continue to work, and like getting through just things even like COVID or you know what I mean, like shit with the economy or like anything going on. Like I'm proud that I'm still like a part of a community that's growing and becoming bigger. And like, yeah, I'm just proud that I'm still here, honestly.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable to me, honestly, because like
that's a cute answer.
like a just being like a college dropout and like, you know, whatever, like it's just like unbelievable to me, honestly.
So on the flip side, right? So we have this segment, and you're so young, it's kind of crazy to even ask this question, but what at this point in your life could you identify as your rock bottom moment? We have like a segment we like to get into just to motivate and inspire people watching.
What was your rock bottom moment, and how did you come out?
How'd you come out on the other side?
My rock bottom moment and how I came out on the other side. I think, yeah, this is I don't know how you even think about this. I got a lot going on. I don't know.
Honestly, that's good.
No.
I remember mine.
Okay, I had this moment where like I was no longer doing artist management, and I was still consulting at Alamo, but like I'm not going to say how much money they were giving me, but like what they were giving me would not be able to pay for rent or the train or like anything, honestly. And so when I lost this like touring, publishing, BMI deal, brand deal bag that I would get every single week, you know, on tour, I was like, I'm fucked. And I was literally 20 years old, which is crazy. Like I was, or maybe 21.
Yeah.
And then I was just back at my mom's crib, you know, with my mom and my dad. And they're Colombian, so they're not playing that dropping out of college shit and stuff. Like
right. That's a different
that was
pressure.
a crazy
That's a
moment.
different
Yeah.
pressure.
They're
Latin households different.
So, but I was also super early on the fact that the Latin expansion was going to be what it was, and that these labels were going to start creating like U.S. based, you know, companies that are going to service these Latin artists in the United States. So I knew that something was going to happen. So I started getting really close with like the people at Sony Latin and the people at Warner Latin and like all these people. But at that point, I was fucking fired, bro. Like I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. And I was sitting at home and I was like thinking about what I was going to do. And I think I'm going into like week 3 or 4 of just being in the crib. And my mom is like, hey, listen, like until you figure this out, like, you know, like your cousin's best friend's brother like works like at the Amazon warehouse or something, doing the drop shipping at the Amazon warehouse. She was like, nobody will know. You can choose your hours, like whatever. And I was just sitting there like, are you kidding me? Like I was like, did you not see like my last 2 years, like the run that I had? Like hard to eat, huh? I just got back from Europe, like on tour, you know. And she was like, maybe you just got lucky.
How did that affect you?
That fired you up.
I was so pissed.
Yeah,
like,
it fired him up. He said,
I was so pissed, but I'm like living in your house rent free right now. Like, and I was like, all right. So that day was like the day where I was supposed to go to the Amazon warehouse to get an interview to decide if I was going to go do something. And I get a call from the VP of A&R at Interscope Latin. Wow. George Fonseca calls me and he says, hey, what's up? Can you come in today? And they were all the way in Coral Gables, which was like an hour and a half from where I lived. He said, you live in Miami, right? And I said, oh, yeah. I said, I'll be there.
Right.
And instead of going to Amazon, I went there and I got the job on the spot. You know what I mean? But that rock bottom moment of your family, not even, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I had already brought.
You just got lucky.
I had already brought cake home. Like I had brought cake home. Like you know, things were they looked decent.
Felt like you had proven yourself
for sure. And then for her to say that, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then coming back that same day with like that, and I'm a strong believer in like God, and I think He just gives back. Honestly, like that's just what it is.
Yeah, He gives back for sure.
And sometimes they got to clear it out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like when you hit those rock bottom moments. Sometimes it's clearing your bench. I look at it like clearing your bench. Like if we have a team, right? If we have 13 people on a team in basketball, if we have 13 people on a team, and I want to win a championship, but our team sucks, we got to clear this whole roster, and we might suck for the next 5 years, but eventually we're gonna have room for
new dope people that are gonna work.
That college prospect who's coming, you know.
So you a LeBron fan, huh?
Who, me? I like LeBron.
You be
for
clearing your bench
reasons.
every couple years,
like
trying to get your chances up. I like the you know what I mean, the metaphor. Yeah, I got you.
It's straight up.
But it's definitely difficult. Like when you're dealing with that, I know a lot of people watching are probably dealing with, you know, that family dynamic of people not understanding, not that they don't want you to win, but it's like they just don't understand this field. This is a very high pressure.
I think what it is
high risk
your
field.
family and people that care about you meet so many people who have failed.
Yes.
And their life is a struggle
Yes.
from the failure.
Yeah.
So sometimes we can take it as, hey, you're not believing in me, when our parents could be saying, I'm trying to protect you.
They just want you to be safe.
Yeah.
And I think they went through
it's
so much,
definitely-
struggle to like figure out how to just keep you okay that they're like, I need them to stay okay. So,
Yes.
but they're on their own now. So let me just
Safe.
try to,
Absolutely.
push safety in front of them. And that's it. That's all they can do,
Yeah.
I actually just had this conversation recently with my mom because I'm in a really good position. Like I get, I get paid all right, pretty good. And, there's insurance and there's all this shit that
So
that's
you
that
came
like
back and put everything
that like adults care about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, this is all good and stuff like that, but this is supposed to go multiply itself with, I don't know, a business or like a company we start or like an item, something we sell or import or something like that. And I was like, you and my father, we never really learned about entrepreneurship and taking these risks because you're counting every dollar just to make sure that it's either there when you need it or there as a safety net when you don't have it, And I was like, I think we need to, educate ourselves and figure out ways to take these risks because the rewards are going to come back tenfold,
Listen,
you're
man.
the one who's paving the way.
Let's see.
It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know
No,
what I
you're
mean?
changing your whole.
But your risk doesn't always have to be financial. You know what I mean? It could be time.
Yep.
It could be spiritual. It could be, just a challenge you put in front of yourself that can make you smarter or more locked in or, better, with organizing yourself and stuff like that. So, but it is a risk. And I think you can always fall into comfort and not reach your full potential once you've fallen into comfort. You know what I mean? It's very true.
Yeah. How do you deal with, because a lot of the culture, I think the world in general is kind of going through a lot. Every time you turn around, like just the vibe is just off in the world. Like, how do you deal with the pressures that are coming with the changes in the music business and the model of how things are moving and not moving? Like, how do you,
Bro,
move forward with
and
this?
I'm so happy that you asked me this question, and I'm glad that this is going to be documented and going to be put on the internet. I don't read or pay attention to any of that shit that's on the internet, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I go by me, like my mindset and my, what I think my people are creating, and we just adapt and adjust every single day. That's it, bro. Because if I sat here and stressed out over like what artists aren't breaking this year or like what that means to the world right now, like I would just crash out, and just not have a great time, If I sat here and was like the major label system isn't working because there's so many like VC funded companies and shit that are giving people favorable deals and stuff. I'm like, yo, listen, like God chooses everybody to do what they're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm being placed in front of you and me and you catch a vibe and this is where I'm at and this is what I could offer you, you might fuck around and take it because it just might make the most sense for you, like on a synchronicity vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really spend a lot of time, doing that. And what I will say is that my most successful artists have been the ones that have been so fucking anti, bro, like anti-collaborating, like anti-scheduling or putting things people in front of people, like anti-press, like anti what you're supposed to do. And so when you see people make millions of dollars off doing whatever the fuck they want to do, but just because they're so good at doing what they want to do and they're so confident about what they're doing, you realize that like, yo, I can do that too. You know what I mean? I just got to be confident and have a vision and be, clear-headed. And I don't have to follow what everybody else is doing to succeed. It might take me a little longer, but slow motion is better than no motion.
There it is. That's the key.
Turtle wins the race.
The turtle wins the race.
Oh my God.
Definitely.
I thought about that the other day. Tortoise in the hair, boy.
It's a different time in the game right now. Like people are like, oh, it's hard to go number one, or they're not liking this, they're not liking that.
Everybody's in their head.
I always think that. I always say like that's what you see. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing that the numbers that you've been adding up over the years. Yeah, but to me, the music industry, the music always comes from the bottom up, right? It's always comes from the ground. It's always the young kids, some culture, some cultural moment that happens. So it's like you may not see that. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
Man.
we're all bumping these guys over here,
Right.
but you're trying to sell us this guy.
Yeah.
Have you
Like,
guys seen like I don't know how much time you guys spend on TikTok. I spend a lot of time on TikTok, and CeeLo Green is having an insane moment right now on TikTok.
wow.
He has this song. It's like, and he recently posted on his account, which he never posts on, and he's like, I shot this video in Georgia or something in like 2002 or something like that, right? That song is going to be like a top 40 record probably in the next 3 months, just because of how fast I see it moving and the type of creators that are doing things with it and stuff like that.
And the song is from 2002.
Yeah, the dude's
was
not
already
even fucking
released
trying. Like,
in
this
2000.
already released. It probably already had a great moment. They were probably like, CeeLo Green didn't go top 40 with this record. Is he dead now or whatever? You know? And now he'll probably go top 40 with the record again, you know? You just never know. You should just keep doing what you're doing. Just be consistent.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
Consistency.
Yeah,
What-
some people lose why they like music, man. It's just that's a whole nother topic, but
Yeah.
it happens. You know what I mean? So
I spend a lot of time focusing on things outside of the music business and the music industry to feel what it feels like to be passionate about something new. You know what I mean? Or something else. But what I will say is that I always come back to music because the feeling is never that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but that helps me be like, oh, okay, I'm in this because of this reason.
So how do you juggle that mentality of kind of just staying in your zone and focusing on your team with the demands and the different things that you're supposed to meet in your role?
You got to meet people in the middle.
Yeah.
You got to compromise. And you got to let these people know that they're compromising too. And they're going to get what they want out of the label or the team or the tour agent or whatever if they just compromise a little bit. And if they don't want to compromise and you have this kind of like hands-off type of way of doing things, you're actually not really losing, because like X or Y artist isn't mad at you. They're mad at somebody else who's trying to force them to compromise, right? And if they don't compromise and they succeed by not compromising, well, you succeed too, because they're happy with you too. They're like, yo, thanks for not pushing me to do something that I didn't want to do. Or you let people learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay too. I didn't go to school. I learned from my mistakes. I've made so many business mistakes, legal mistakes, like, within the music industry that have cost me so much, money or status or anything. But you learn from your mistakes, and that's it. And then you next go around, you do what people tell you to do or what people suggest for you to do, That's it. Life is trial and error, bro.
Okay, so when I talk to people about this podcast, they always say, what is an A&R? What do they do? Ask the simple questions. Like, what is it? What's the trajectory? What is the career? Like, could you touch a little bit on that? Like,
sure.
Where does an A&R start, and like, what do they do?
I think that the base of A&R is discovering artists and developing artists, right? That's like the simplest way to put it. You go, you find something early, and you figure out a way to go into business and development with this act, What does that mean? What value do you bring to the table? Hopefully you're either connected or educated or cultured in what these people, want to do, music they want to put out, projects they want to put out, and you help them put together the best version of what they're doing, And that's really it. And then, it goes deeper into like making bigger music, helping them find big features, using your connections and their connections to create one massive fucking song or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, but it's really all just, honestly, it's like cultivating relationships and figuring out how to, launch a product into the world every so often. The trajectory, I mean, look, I'm living it. I can't tell you that where it ends. You know what I mean? Like, it's all up to you. You could work for a company the rest of your life and at the end of the day, maybe be at the top of what that means, being an executive vice president or a president of something or something like that, or maybe even the CEO or a partner, or you could like learn as much as you can and go start your own company. And then you're starting this CEO independent route and trying to figure out how to get to the peak of that, they're all, or you can learn as much as you can about music and connections and stuff like that and go start a management company and go hire people underneath you or something like that. Like there are so many ways that this could go,
Right.
You could fuck around and go become an artist, bro. You go become a producer, a DJ, now that you know how this works and how to get in there,
That's what Lil Jon did.
There you go.
He was an A&R for So Def first.
There you go.
Right. There's all this hype around AI. We always like to get kind of everybody's take. It's still fairly new, but how are you incorporating it in your day to day, and are you embracing? I mean, do you embrace it in music?
I think the answer is not no, honestly. Like, and I know how that sounds, but if you are a singer and a songwriter and somebody who makes money off of, your talent, your mind, your writing, your vocals, whatever you're doing, I don't think that anybody should have the right to recreate what you're doing if you don't give that consent, right? But I think it's really interesting, for example, if you're like a really incredible producer or DJ or something like that, and you want to hear what it would be like if somebody really dope put vocals on your songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be the super prolific composer and you can't get a fucking beat placed, because maybe you're not good at the internet or you don't know how to communicate or you have no connections or anything.
Right.
The people who do agree to give up a piece of their likeness for AI with consent, I think that if you want to go produce something around something like this and hear, vocals over your music for the first time, it's almost like a blind person seeing for the first time, or a colorblind person seeing color for the first time. Like, wow, it must be like an incredible, beautiful feeling. Yeah. But I think it should be like regulated in a way in which people don't feel like their creativity and like their own likeness is compromised, for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm big on that because, Guru, my brother was going over kind of the early phase of when they were putting like Jay-Z vocals on stuff or Rihanna vocals and how dangerous that could be, there was all these Drake and Weeknd records and things like that. You know what I'm saying? But on the flip side of it, like you said, there's artists like Ty Dolla who have come out and said, yo, if the shit sounds hot and I get the idea, then I may just clear it as is, or if I like it enough, I may recut it so it sounds more like me if it doesn't already.
Yeah. So. And the thing about AI is it's so new and it's moving so rapidly that it almost reminds me of like any time that technology comes and it scares some people and some people embrace. So we just have to see where it goes because.
You gotta just be patient and see what happens. Yeah, but you know what? Like, everything is good in moderation. Yeah. And that's what's difficult. When you give somebody an inch, they take 100 yards. You know what I mean? And so that's what makes it scary.
We'll have whole AI.
Yeah.
Oh, it's about to get.
Whole AI
we
industry.
haven't seen.
We're like, who's the artist? Like, there's no artist anymore. There's just people performing on stage. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
If the labels just created their own AI artists.
Oh,
that's already.
People.
I've seen. I mean, I've seen some people doing that, but you know what? I don't know. Like, post pandemic, I see people really embracing real life and creating communities through real life still. And
I agree with that.
Having moved from like smaller suburban town to back to New York City post pandemic, seeing how often people are just like gathering and doing things and collaborating and stuff like that in real life is like. It's like, okay, I still have hope in like reality and community and stuff. Yeah.
Seeing the things you've seen in the game, right? So there's one thing you keep alluding to, and most of the time, so we have this phrase, like everybody heard, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we take that out in the music game, which one's more important? Who you know or how talented you are?
Well, as far like if you're an artist or if you're
just being an
person
artist
in the business
being
or
an artist trying to come up.
As an artist trying to come up.
Just in your opinion.
I don't think I don't know. I think it's more about what you know. But I think if you know what's best for you, you're gonna go meet a bunch of people and stuff like that when you get on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But bro, you can make it from your crib right now. You know what I mean? You don't need to know anybody. You don't need anybody's cosign to go make it, to go hit the algorithm and make it,
So in that case, talent would be more important.
I don't even know if it's talent. I just think it's like knowledge, really.
So what you know comes back into the question.
There you go. What you know. Do you know what platform is pushing the algorithm the most right now? Like YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels. Like TikTok is like not that lit right now, so I'm not going to focus that much on there. But like maybe I'm going to post a third of my content on there. But I know that like Reels and Shorts are the heaviest things, so I'm going to make specific stuff for that I see working for other people that are making the same sort of music that I'm making, right? What do I know? I know that I can't afford to go to the studio, but I know that there's something called BandLab on my phone, right? And I know that if I go on BandLab and I YouTube how to use BandLab, then I'll figure out how to make a full song from my phone, right? I know that I can't afford a beat, but I know that I can go on BeatStars and go lease one for $5, and if the song turns into a fucking hit, well, then I can go figure out how to buy it later. You know what I mean? Like, all these things are things that a well-rounded artist should be aware of. Like, there's no reason to lack right now.
That's true, man. You gotta know. You gotta know what's out there, what's available.
You have to have grind, bro.
Yeah.
Nowadays, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a grind. From every aspect. What suggestion would you give young artists now that are coming up? Like, what were you? We kind of touched on it a little bit what you just said. But
Yeah.
If you could dive in a little deeper, like where's the game like with artistry right now? Like what's, you know what I mean?
I don't think that you should think that like anything else except you is gonna blow you up. Like you can go spend a bunch of money on Instagram pages, or like
we just need a budget, man, and we'll be there.
I need to get on Say Cheese, you know, like that's it. That's the answer.
That's the number one thing I hear from young guys nowadays. If I could just get a budget, man, I could, I could get on this and I could get on off the block and everything. It's like,
right.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear your shit right now.
Yeah,
I know you.
There are so many versions of like really like self-made 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that are like, just being consumed and catering to their community every single day because they know what those specific people like. If you are an artist and you want to figure out how to be successful, here are some tips. Figure out what type of music you like and what type of music you're good at making. Figure out who are the people that like that music and who are the other people making that type of music. Figure out how to connect with those people, whether that be in real life or on the internet. Figure out what platform these people connect with each other on if it's on the internet. It could be Reddit, it could be Discord, it could be Instagram, it could be Twitter group chat, it could be Threads now, it could be TikTok, it could be like the BandLab scroll feed, you know what I mean? Like it could be Snapchat, it could be YouTube reaction, like streaming and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Figure out how to feed content and things for these people to consume as often as possible. When that piece of content or that song or, whatever these people end up really liking and consuming is seriously being, like people are really paying attention to it, at that time, you'll probably start seeing some sort of monetary gain from this sort of consumption. And then you sit down with yourself and start over again and figure out that now that I'm making a tiny bit of money, what's the next move that I can make to not only feed this community, but expand that, you know what I mean? And get to that next version of it. Who is the biggest person in that community and what are they doing to get to that next level? You know what I mean?
Right.
How do I go perform in an open mic for 20 people to maybe doing a house party with 50 to then maybe selling tickets, hard copy tickets at my high school or college for $10 for 100 people and scaling my music beyond just like my friends and family to then selling real tickets with maybe a small promoter in my hometown for 250 people, right? To then figuring out who the kids that are now under me making this sort of music who are going to help me sell tickets the next time I want to sell a 350 venue or something like that, right? Create your own version of that pyramid that I'm talking to you about, but also look at people who have bigger ones and figure out how they got there and who is all involved, Become obsessed with your craft and do something different. Please do something different.
Say that louder. Because
Man.
I think everybody in the music industry, from whatever your position is, that's the burnout right there. Is where it's
And
so
be
much of the
genuine too.
same.
Like you like be genuine. Like
Yeah.
if you're like if you love the internet and you don't know how to talk to people, well then just go do it on there. You don't have to like front like your X or Y thing that you're not. Like just be yourself. That's it.
That's a big component now. Authenticity is selling like shit.
And by the way, you can be yourself by being a chameleon in every single room. By the way, like I could get along with you guys and I could go get along with somebody somewhere else. You know what I mean? Or like different communities, different cultures. Like maybe that's somebody's gift in that they're genuine like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's okay too. Getting along with everybody is totally cool.
Yeah.
You know?
You touched on a lot, man. I really appreciate it, bro. And
This was
appreciate
great.
your patience.
Best one yet. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, a lot of a lot of information that I think is gonna help a lot of people. Hopefully, get motivated and kind of, get back on their grind and refocus their energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I got to do it sometimes too. You know what I mean? I have to reset all the time. Like sometimes you're having too much fun. You're having too much of a good time,
Yeah.
And then you hit that rock bottom when you're like, hold the fuck up. Like I gained 15 pounds and I'm not saving any of this money that I'm making. And did I really need to go out for 10 weekends straight? And like, where are my goals at right now? And then you got to sit back. And what I do is I write these things down on paper, like where I want to be at or whatever, and figure out ways to motivate yourself to do better. Again, challenge yourself. That's it.
Definitely. Yeah. Nobody's perfect, bro. We're all
I'm sorry.
we're all in development. You know what I'm saying? So
I just had one more question pop up in my head, man. I was thinking about. I just wanted your opinion. Major versus independent. What would you suggest for new artists? Like, because a lot of people, I've been in meetings where people will be like, "No, you don't need to sign with nobody. Go independent."
Figure out the type of person you are and be honest with yourself. If you don't pay bills on the first of the month because you know that your phone company isn't going to charge you until the 13th, 14th, or 15th, go work with a record label because those are the people that are going to have your back. Okay? If you wake up every morning, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you have 2 egg yolks for breakfast, and you go to the gym and you bust your ass every day and you make your bills on time and you clean your apartment and you make your bed every morning, then go be independent and go pay people a salary and stand behind the masters that you own and all that. Go do that because you can. You know what I mean? Because you have that in you.
Yeah.
Some people don't got that in them. Some people just want to be creative, bro.
Yeah.
That's cool too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Somebody should say a lot for the people in the back, man, because you got a lot of people pushing.
If your
independent on people.
team is your homeboy or some shit like that, and that's your best friend and that's the only person you're gonna listen to and stuff like that, but your homeboy failed math class, like the whole way dropped out or whatever,
Is just following you.
go sign a deal and go have them help you set up with your business correctly or your business manager, or get with a lawyer who knows what's going on and stuff like that. Like
it's crazy because
push that.
Wendy Day was talking about that, how she structured the Cash Money deal, and it basically came with education for the team. For the
Oh, wow,
internal
really?
team,
That's wonderful.
Where they were able to kind of shadow, and I'm freestyling this, but it's based on the a clip I saw where she was talking about her involvement and in that negotiation where.
But see,
that should be kind of a part of,
That I
like
fuck with,
like the LeBron
because
vibe. You know
but
what I'm
not
saying?
everybody has the time and the bandwidth and the Cash Money was a big deal and it must have been really expensive to them, so they were like, oh cool, that we got to bring them in as like paid interns. That's fine, whatever.
You said Birdman was 13 years old with $1 million. So he was 13 years old.
Oh my God.
And people had the vision that this man carried himself, whether he had it or not. They believed that Birdman had $1 million at 13. So that says that he carried himself at some kind of level. You know what I mean? So when you have a boss like Birdman who does the independent route and it works, and then you have everybody else saying, hey, we're going to go independent like Cash Money, or we're going to go independent like this and that and that and this, and then nobody works or nobody, you know what I mean? Or you guys are a poo-putz crew, then it's like, sign the deal. Go find somebody to help you, somebody to learn, you know what I mean? And really get in there and really do business.
And maybe sign a bad deal and understand what a good deal is and figure out a way that you can work in order to get there. You know what I mean?
Like, is a good deal?
Bro, life is what you make it. Is life a good deal? You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's no such thing as a good deal. Some people say that.
It's good deals, man.
You know what I mean?
Good deals.
it depends on how you play the game, bro.
It's definitely how you play it, and your leverage and what you've created and what you can actually.
I don't think you should ever let anybody convince you of what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because everything's specific.
Learn from
Right.
your mistakes.
Everything's specific.
Yeah.
This is the segment of the show where we like to get our lawyer on the phone, and we got the legendary Jason Berger in the building. Appreciate you, Jason, always coming through for us.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for moving the culture.
Nah, you already know. So we got the young legend Mateo Dorado today, and one of the things that he raised off camera when we told him we were going to be hollering at you was these 360 deals, and in particular when the artist is sort of at the end, but they still have that clause where even if they may fulfill terms and they're able to move, there's this clause where they can't really do anything for, upwards of 18 months, depending on how the deal was negotiated. What he specifically wanted to know was, are there any loopholes to help get an artist out of those deals? And how you would approach that.
Yeah, I don't think it's loopholes. Once you're in, you're kind of in, and you got to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the art in trying to tailor that as narrowly as possible comes in negotiating the recording agreement.
Mm-hmm.
A couple concepts built in there, right? I think the first thing that people should understand is really what an album cycle is. Most of these deals, there's a contract period and there's option periods. The agreement will specify typically how long those periods last. And it's usually 12 months from the inception of that contract period, or 9 months from the commercial release of the first record embodying the commitment. Mm-hmm. Some of them are different. Some will be a certain amount of months from the last record release. You see that a lot more in distribution agreements, even the ones that come with decent money, mm-hmm. where they want a certain period of exclusivity, even though it's not a long-term contract, so to speak. They want a certain period of exclusivity to ensure that they can move the record and create as much income as possible for X period of months. If you have some leverage, especially in the distro deals, I've been able to limit that to 2, sometimes 3 months. A lot of companies will insist on a 4 to 6 month period, especially if it's a contract period plus options, meaning the more in depth, the more voluminous the commitment is, usually the more time they want to let it see a shelf life before they allow you, even if you're out of term, to release records elsewhere through a different label or a different distributor.
Gotcha.
I think that the real focus and where that really means dollars and cents is in a 360 capacity, where the label is also eating on ancillary income. And a lot of times I'll always try to get any ancillary participation to cut off when the term's over. I get a lot of pushback, in particular on touring, and I get it. I understand. If I was a label lawyer, I would push for it as well, because the thought process is, if the album drops month 1, you market it for a few months, you still have, let's say, 9 months of exclusivity for that artist before they can even move somewhere else. Mm-hmm. If that artist then goes and tours off that music, that kind of makes sense that the label should eat in some capacity post-term, even if that touring is taking place after the contract period's over. You understand? So the best way to mitigate that from an artist or an artist team's perspective is ideally to get those ancillary participations to cut off when the term's over. Mm-hmm. If not, you same as the distro scenario. You try to get that to cut off as soon as possible, with the hope that there will be some income that's based on this group of records, and you'd want to try to share as little of that as possible with the label for as shortest period of time as possible.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think that, because I've heard different stories, and I feel like from some of the scenarios I've heard, it could depend on numerous things, whether it be the money that was involved or and things like that, that would make it a little more tricky how you negotiate these things.
Just general leverage. The more that you have leverage going into these negotiations, the better you'll do in terms of limiting the 360 nature of the deal. If I go in, there's a big difference between an artist that has no track record but has something moving and what you'll get versus having some period of success and then going to negotiate the deal.
Gotcha.
So when I have real leverage, I've actually been successful in cutting those percentages way down, everything under 5%, and getting carve out, meaning that there'll be other income streams that the label simply won't participate in. And then the other strategies use is trying to build in shelters. I said the best thing you could do if you don't have the leverage is try to build in something called a shelter within that 360 component, meaning the first X dollars that the artist earns in those non-record and non-video services, if you will, is to the artist and no sharing with the label. And most labels understand, right? That's important time for the artist to build, first contract period, second contract period. So most labels, I'm pretty successful in getting, somewhere from 50,000 to 250 or 300 each contract period, where the artists go ahead and eat on that on their own. And then once they get past that number, then they start sharing based on the percentage you negotiate.
Got you. Man, a lot of gems in there. So a lot to unpack. Drop any questions in the comments. Definitely would love to know y'all's feedback. Appreciate you on this one.
For sure.
A lot of good.
I think it just also stresses not to shamelessly use this platform as a plug, but I think it really just goes to show how important a skilled entertainment lawyer is anytime you have that kind of opportunity presented to you, especially ones that have been through negotiating deals with the lowest level artists up through the highest, because you see the variables, and you see, and those things come out only through time and doing deals. And then cumulatively, I'm in a much better position now that I've gone through the gamut with someone I really had the juice with, and, the ones that we were kind of scratching at the door in the rain to even get a meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Well, definitely, guys, tap in, especially if you needed, some legal help. Jason's always around. We attach all his info so that you could, shoot him a DM, try to get in contact. He's definitely on deck. Appreciate
you.
All right. Listen, man, Mateo, thank you, brother. Appreciate your patience. Appreciate all the game, bro.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
No, but it flowed perfectly. Like we did everything had a great time.
For sure. Appreciate you. This has been Hidden Hands with the legendary Mateo Dorado.
Thank you guys so much.
For sure. Appreciate you, bro.